Okay, where are we? Geeta Dhyanam.
We are knowing the difference between the field and the knower of the field.
Very good. Very good. Okay, Geeta Dhyanam. Om. Oh, Bhagavad Gita, by which Arjuna was illumined by Lord Krishna himself, and which was composed of 18 chapters within the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, destroyer of rebirth, who showers the nectar of oneness upon us, O Bhagavad Gita, my affectionate mother, on thee I meditate. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milker is the cowherd boy, Krishna. Arjuna is the calf, and people of purified intellect are the drinkers. The milk is the supreme nectar of the Gita. My salutations to the Lord, the source of supreme bliss, whose grace makes the mute eloquent and the crippled cross mountains. Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay, so these are most important shlokas today. Most important. Most important. This knowledge, we've discussed, this knowledge of the relationship between the field and the knower of the field and who is what, is the knowledge. When we master this, then life becomes a breeze. Life becomes a breeze. Huh? Nothing wrong. And whatever the circumstances we're given, it's okay. It's okay. Because why? Well, they'll be fine, but also because we have control of our mind. At that point, we have control of the mind. So the mind will do as it's needed to do in those circumstances. It won't go into the gutter. It won't go into fear and anger, all of these states. So this is it. Okay. So just to step back, Shloka 11, which is where we closed yesterday. In this way, they develop continuous realization of the self, capital S, self, which they recognize to be the essence of knowledge of the truth. I declare this to be wisdom. Seeking anything else is ignorance. So that's the guidance. Okay, now, continuing. Now I will tell you what is to be known. Now I will tell you what is to be known. You know, those of us that study the Gita can't rightfully say, well, no one told me. Yes?
Yes.
Well, I didn't know. No one told me.
Well, once known, you can't go back.
Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning, dear Fiorella. Oh, welcome, dear. Now I will tell you what is to be known. You will live forever when you know the supreme and absolute Brahman, who has no beginning and can be called neither the truth nor the untruth. And Swamiji adds a little commentary about that. He says, Sat means truth, Asat means untruth. You cannot say that Brahman is real, nor can you say that Brahman is unreal. You can't say Brahman is. What does it mean? What does it mean? You can't say anything about it, is what he says. It can't be put into words. It can be pointed to, and it can be described in some way, but all of the descriptions will fail. It can't be put into words because if you say one thing, its opposite is possible too. So we get hung up where we say God is good, and then we relate to what that means in a worldly sense. And then we say, well, only good. It's fair to say certainly that God is love, but again, our idea of love will fail us. Our idea of love will fail us. Yeah, because we'll experience what we take to be the opposite of love here. And we'll experience what seems to be the opposite of good here. So these words can be used as pointers. Be good, do good. In other words, find within you that deeper capacity. So it can describe a practice, but it can't describe the absolute. We were talking a little bit about yesterday. Within the field, there's higher and lower. Within Brahman, there's absolute potential. So undifferentiated. Undifferentiated.
Swamiji, it's like what Peace Pilgram says, that she had to unlearn everything that she thought she knew.
Yeah. And this is what we're in the process of. So again, who's we that's talking about we're in the process of? Just for a moment, catch that. Who's the we that is in the process of something?
Just this equipment.
Just the equipment. Specifically, which equipment is in the process of learning?
The brain. The mind.
No, not the mind.
Sorry, the knowledge.
No.
Yes.
No. No. Which part of the equipment? Remember what the equipment is. Don't forget your tools. Don't forget your tools. The intellect. Thank you. The intellect. Conscious mind. Intellect. Differentiate from mind. Mind, manas, reactive mind. Buddhi, intellect, conscious mind. Who's teaching who here?
No, I get it. I don't have the terms proper.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. And in this case, it's very helpful to have the terms. And by the way, they'll be different in different traditions. And we want to be able to relate to them in all the traditions. We really want to get this, and in all of the ways it's said.
Buddhi is intellect.
Conscious mind. And
knowledge is another.
Knowledge is what is to be known.
Okay.
So in that way, it stands apart from intellect. And you can't say intellect is the knower either, but okay. Terms. Not to get hung up on them, but still they have to get used. So now I will tell you what is to be known. So in this way you can say that the intellect is the knower. It's fine. Who is it that's learning? Who is it that's learning? You see, it's the same question. Who's learning? Conscious mind is learning, right? So it's buddhi that's learning. Buddhi's the discriminative faculty is in the process of learning, discriminating between this and that. Please.
And does manas get reprogrammed?
Absolutely. Thank God, yes.
Samskaras are located in and vasanas in manas?
In manas, in the mind. So subconscious mind, some will say unconscious mind. Okay. And of course, what we're dealing with is, 99% of life is lived in manas, is lived in the reactive state. So catch it, how that is. You decide to do something. When you decide to do something, you're evaluating it, and that is in the discriminative faculty, that's conscious mind, right? Okay. Now, you can do something, so if nothing else happens, how often is that? then you can go and pick up that book because you plan to pick up that book at such and such a time. But if we say it's like that all of the time, that's naive, because something's always happening. And when the something is happening, then the reactive faculty is in the lead. Subconscious mind, unconscious mind is in the lead. Somebody says something, there's a feeling that arises. So that feeling is a samskara, it's a tendency. It has nothing to do with conscious mind. Conscious mind put it there through the choices that were made. So as soon as you choose that there's another, then that's something being programmed into manas. And if you decide that there's no other, you're going to have to reprogram. Because for all of this countless time, this conscious mind has been putting into manas, into the reactive subconscious mind, there are others here. And my happiness is going to come from what others do and what I get. Countless time.
So that's like some say there's a subconscious mind, and it's like some mentors out there trying to work with the subconscious mind, because on the conscious mind, what they say is the reactive, those habits, those beliefs.
Yeah, that's why I say in different traditions, these faculties will be said in different ways, although they're so we have to take a minute to catch how, if we're to have a conversation across traditions, we have to catch what terminology is used there.
So sometimes, somewhere along my life, someone did something and I felt in some way, said something, and I felt like I was not accepted, example.
And then you made a choice to either feel that you were not accepted. So there's a feeling that comes. But there's also the conscience, the light. There's also the power of forgiveness, which is asserting within you. And then you choose. And you see this all the time. You see this all the time. And so something happens. There's a reaction that comes. And now you have a choice. How do I take this? Right? How do I take this? And there's a wealth of opportunity in terms of how to take it, because there are all of these inner voices. One of which says, let it go, forgive. Drop it.
Or it's not true.
It's not true. Home. And so you say that one's the light. That's wisdom. Okay.
So I've been contemplating.
But then we choose. Just hold that for a moment, because this is the fundamental process. This is how we end up in the stew. Because now you've chosen, and based upon that choice, you'll harden whatever it is. If you repeat to yourself, they don't know, they're a terrible person, they don't understand me, they never understood me. Now there are tendencies there, but you're also feeding them, and that's a conscious mental process. And so what's happening is deeper and deeper grooves. You're cutting deeper and deeper grooves. And now you come here, and now you're needing to erase all of those grooves. And the best way to erase the grooves is to rewrite them, rewrite new grooves, and write new grooves that are deeper than the old grooves were. So here, any choice that you make between this and that, it's always conscious mind. But what you find is that in the moment when someone throws the book at you, or someone says how beautiful you are, in that moment, there's this loud assertion which is coming from subconscious mind of something reactive. And often you'll act it, but then you'll have that moment of reflection after. And after is when you have the opportunity to make the changes.
So that when someone throws the book or says you're lovely, The reactive is Om.
Until the reaction is Om. Completely? Yeah. Om. Yes.
So I've been more aware of this like subconscious mind thoughts through feelings that arise, and I catch the feeling that is negative, and I ask myself, what is the thought that is creating this feeling?
Yes.
So I've been more aware of that.
Yes.
But then many things I see, like I feel either I was born with it or somehow they come from childhood, because I don't remember choosing.
They come from childhood, past births, all of this. There's so much. That's why we said countless time.
Right, so it's just a matter of keep on working on it.
You keep on working on it.
Okay.
But the light is far more powerful than the shadow.
Okay.
Orders of magnitude. So when you really consciously bring the light into the situation and make the choices, and here based upon understanding, based upon wisdom, based upon knowledge that I can always rely on the light, that the light is the intuitive self. And I know how to connect with the light, and I know that the light is the real. I know that the light and I are one. These are all conscious mind statements, right? And then you say, I will live according to the light. I will live in God. I will live with God. I will always follow. And my entire life will be to tune to that. And then to allow that to flow through me. This is conscious mind statement again. And of course, our steps are faulting. They're halting. They're faults. We make all these mistakes. The reactive mind continues to assert, of course, all of that. But if your choice is firm, then you tolerate all of that and you continue to remain the teacher. This is conscious mind. Conscious mind continues to remain over the rest of this process. Remember from Upanishad, where does the intellect sit? The senses are above the body. The mind is above the senses. The intellect is above the mind, reactive mind. And what is above the intellect? Oh, Namah Shivaya, good morning. Is the unmanifest, and then the capital S self. So the light is above, and that's where we find ourselves. The light is above, the animal nature is below, right? Yeah. So practically speaking, and this is the depth of Brahman, the depth of the Absolute. There's from where we're sitting, it's as if we're sitting in the middle because we're identified with conscious mind. So to us, there seems to be an up and a down, right? And this is when we get to, in yoga meditation, this great shloka which says, the self can pull itself up by itself, or the self can let itself down by the self. And do not, for God's sakes, let yourself down. So that's this up and down within the field. Right? Conscious mind, what I'm taking myself to be, is in the field. Good morning, dear. Okay. So, Swamiji continuing. He says, he uses the word supreme. All that we can say about God is less than the truth. The supreme is not to be talked of, not even to be thought of. It's beyond the grasp of mind and speech, because they're finite things, part of Prakriti, or the field. Finite instruments can never describe the infinite one. The only way to experience or realize this is to become it. If you become that, where is the you to explain? He says, like the drop who wants to fathom the sea and tell you how deep it is, if that drop jumps into the sea, where is the one to tell you how deep it is? Can you distinguish the drop from the sea once it jumps in? But it has understood the sea. Even though I can't tell you how deep it is, it has understood the sea, because now It's become the sea. It's a funny concept. But it bears repeating. Like the drop who wants to fathom the sea and tell you how deep it is, if that drop jumps into the sea, no matter how long you sit and wait for an answer, it's not going to come. But it has understood the sea, not as a drop, but by becoming the sea. So the Supreme Brahman can never be expressed or expounded. It can only be realized. Still, Sri Krishna says, Brahman is all-pervasive, present in every hand and foot. Brahman sees through every eye, speaks through every mouth, hears through every ear. Every head is Brahman, enveloping all. So we'll come back in the morning, tomorrow morning to this. We can read this commentary. It says, I just said you can't say anything about it, so why does he say this now? He's writing a book, so he has to say something. I mean, he has to say something. That's the dilemma. That's where we find ourselves in terms of trying to address. We can't talk about it, but still we must somehow satisfy our minds. Thus we slowly widen our limited understanding more and more until one day it becomes unlimited. Instead of thinking God is only here in this statue or that church, or works with 2 hands only or 12 hands, we see God as the cosmic form. All heads are God's heads and hands. All mouths are God's mouths. Literally, it is so because God becomes everything. Naturally, it is all God. So we'll stop there for the morning. Good morning. How are you this morning? Good. Good. Did you sleep well? Mm-hmm. Yes, very good. Good morning, dear. Om Namah Shivaya. You good? Okay. Good morning, guys. Beautiful. Okay, we'll close with final prayers and arati. Page 174. Oh, Leela. Good morning, dear.
Good morning.
Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Surandim Pushtivardinam Orvairakameva Bandhanan Mritor Musyamam Mritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Surandim Pushtivardinam Orvairakameva Bandhanan Mritor Musyamam Mritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Surandim Pushtivardhanam Orvairakameva Bandhanan Mritor Mukshyamam Mritat Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Shantu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyanto Makashi Dukapa Bhave Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotir Gamaya Mritor Maha Mritam Gamaya Om Purnamida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto Thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Thou art Satchidananda. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptation and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, anger, greed, hatred, and jealousy. Fill our hearts with divine virtues. Let us behold Thee in all these names and forms. Let us serve Thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember Thee. Let us ever sing Thy glory. Let Thy name be ever on our lips. Let us abide in Thee forever and ever. Satchidananda Branch Ki, and for all of the saints and sages of all the traditions. Okay, we'll stand for Arati. Arati starts on page 210.